like I said, I wrote Superman in 1994 before our first album came out. And I didn't even think it was good enough to make the first album. I didn't even put it on the first album. We had it laying around, and we recorded this 7-inch at this other studio. We made the first album at this place called Media Ventures, which was Hans Zimmer's, I almost said Han Solo. It was Han Solo's studio. And Chewie was the engineer. It was like we had to go to this other studio that Jackson Browne owned. And Real Big Fish was, because Real Big Fish was recording their first album at the time. And so we had, Scott and Travis, we had Real Big Fish's horn section played on it. And then Aaron from Real Big Fish sang all the harmonies. Like all the harmonies on Superman is Aaron singing it, which is pretty cool. And it's just
so wait a second, on the version from Hang-Ups, that's Aaron.
On the version from Hang-Ups, that's Aaron singing all the harmonies. Yeah,
what?
He was right next door in Media Ventures, and we were next door in Jackson Browne's studio, and he just came over, and I'm just like, dude, you want to sing harmonies? And so he just sang all those harmonies, which was epic.
I thought that was, I was for sure that was you.
No, it's Aaron. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I don't know, I was listening to the song recently, and I was like, I mean, the Police are my all-time favorite band, and it's like I really made Darren play all those like the ping stuff, like the bell on the ride cymbal. I just made him do that shit on Superman. And I was like, all the splash stuff, like I'm like, we have to, kind of channel our inner, Stuart Copeland Police energy on that song. And I was thinking about recording it, Charlie, and the good and the bad about, Charlie and my relationship is like, he's definitely a more musical guy than me. I think about, melodies and lyrics, but he's thinking about the overall picture a lot more. And he came up with this killer guitar part at the end of Superman, the do 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 do, And I said, we have to like support it with horns. And he was like, fuck no, we don't. We do not need horns to cover up my guitar part. And I'm like, look, I just had this vision for this song because, at the time it was like there was a movement happening with your band, with Real Big Fish, Save Ferris. All these bands were kind of, really coming up at that time. And I'm like, I want horns to be first and foremost. In the second album, Hang-Ups, I wanted it to be like a real ska record. And Charlie fucking threatened to quit the band over that horn part at the end of Superman. He's like, if you put that horn part in, I'm quitting the fucking band. And it was like this big moment. And he stormed out of the studio. And, Scott was sitting there with his trumpet. And I'm like, let's just put it in. And I guess we can take it out if we have to. And we ended up leaving it in. Charlie, since has been like, you know what, man, it really made the song. But it was really hard at the time.
Right. Well, and I think you guys compromised, John. I'm going to refresh your memory because at the very end, and it's so funny you mentioned that, and we're going to get to it. The first half of because it's a 16-bar outro, the first half has that beautiful arpeggiated guitar part you're talking about. Then the second half, the horns come in with it. So yeah. I think there was a split compromise, but that's hilarious that he was so up in arms about horns.
At the time, it's funny, time is the great, kind of leveler.
Yeah.
I was, at the time we were both so passionate and so emotional about what instrumentation this song needed to have. And God, I just, he was so angry and there were so many emotions and I think the song probably wouldn't be as good as it is without that sort of butting of heads, with Charlie's, that guitar part that Charlie wrote is like, it's legendary. And when Charlie wasn't in the band, every guitar player had such a hard time playing that part. It's so unique. And now that Charlie's back, it's just like it all kind of comes together for that moment.
Right. And gosh, that's so hard to explain to non-musicians, but some musicians, of how you can replace somebody with the best guitar player, but they're never going to be that person. They don't have the same heart, that something's going to change with it within a band. And you get a guy that can maybe on paper play circles around Charlie, but he goes to play the lick and it just doesn't sound the same.
No, Charlie's like very, I know Charlie, he's a very, he's a very passionate guy. And it's like, I respect that more now than I ever have, when he voices something, like we made the last record together, the last album we did, we made it with Charlie, And I just, when he would raise his hand and say, look, I really feel this should be this way. I listen to him now more than I ever have, because I just know how those moments in hindsight are so important for the song. And that moment in Superman is irreplaceable.